My friends and I were celebrating Halloween, like any other group of friends. We had plenty of beer, and had candy for any trick-or-treaters that stopped by. The night had a nice scary feel to it, like you would see in a scary movie. There was a full moon that was covered by a small sheet of clouds. There were no stars, and the air was cool and damp. My friends and I were taking half-hour-long shifts at the door, since we didn't have a doorbell, and the knocking at the door couldn't be heard over the talking and music. I decided to take the first shift, just to get it over with. The trick-or-treaters were your average little kids, superheroes, dinosaurs, princesses, and the sort. I decided to sit outside to get some fresh air while I was on my shift. For a moment, there was absolutely no sound. It was eerily quiet. There were no kids running around in my view, and it seemed nothing was happening. Suddenly I saw a kid, a little boy, all by himself. He wasn't dressed up, and he was just jogging down the road. I thought it was rather strange that he didn't have a parent with him, but it was none of my concern. A few minutes later, I had run out of my drink and decided to go back inside to get another. As I was coming back to the door, I heard a knock. So I grabbed the bowl of candy and set down my drink. I opened the door. Nobody was there. I looked around and saw no one. So I figured it must have been some little brat teenagers. I wanted to catch them, so I stayed at the door and looked out of the peephole. On the right side of my vision, I saw that same kid, the one that was all alone, walking up to my door. I opened the door with the candy bowl out and expected to hear him yell, "Trick or treat." As I opened the door, the kid was gone. I was shocked, but the beer kept me from thinking anything was wrong. I stepped outside to finish the last 10 minutes of my shift and sat down. The air had gotten considerably colder from before. It was October though, so I paid it no mind. Again, it was early in the night and I seemed to be the only person outside. I walked over to the road and looked down and back up, hoping I could at least see someone. I did see someone. Under the only streetlight on the road was that kid. He was sitting there all alone. His head was in his hands, and I could swear I heard some whimpering. I began to walk over to him. "Little boy," I called out. "Little boy, what's wrong? Are you okay? Where are your parents?" I got no response. He acted as if I wasn't even there. "Little boy, hello? Are you hurt?" Still, no response. I decided to walk closer to him. As I got within 10 feet of him, he looked at me from the side. Those eyes. His eyes were a burning red, and his cheeks seemed to be cracked. I backed away from him a couple feet and looked around. I figured this had to be a joke. I looked for a wire or something, anything. This thing had to be a toy. Suddenly, he was standing. his head tilted down to his side. He was staring at me. No, not at me. Through me. His mouth opened slightly, and I leaned in a bit. I was hoping he would say something. Then he screamed. A piercing scream, a scream so loud, it knocked me off my feet. I closed my eyes as tightly as I could and wrapped my hands over my ears. But that didn't help at all. All I could hear was this piercing scream. I sat there on the ground, my ears ringing, my whole body shaking. I sat there for what felt like months. I finally opened my eyes, and nothing was there. I looked around for that damned little boy, but to no avail. The sky had changed. The stars were out. The moon was only a crescent. I stood up, still with my hands around my ears. All I could hear was that ringing. I managed to get back to my house, and I went in. My house was completely empty. There were no beer cans, no music playing. Absolutely no signs of my friends. I saw my phone sitting on the table and picked it up. The date read out October 30th, 2012.